I'm very excited about Ethereum 2.0, by the way, because I think Ethereum has already established itself. You can see the trend where when DApps become popular, one of the things they will think of is, I must have my own chain. So within Octopus Network, we can actually help the community, if the community wants, to make a fork of their coin.
What's the difference between app chains and just simple dApps?
A decentralized app is an decentralized application that is built on another blockchain or somebody else's blockchain. So this blockchain does not belong to you. For example, in Ethereum, you need you have no control over the underlying layer. So for example, you have no control on the approval process to incorporate, let's say, a new standard, and let's say that standard is ERC 721 and 1155, which is everybody knows is NFT standard. And that process to implement the standard takes a very long time and involves a lot of people. And under the hood, especially with the implementation of Ethereum 2.0, you have absolutely no control. And not only that, you are also affected if, let's say, there's many other applications that's built on Ethereum that for some reason becomes very popular, and they actually drive up the gas price. So so this is there's a good and bad part to this. So if you're a DeFi protocol, you actually need to be on Ethereum in order to have a composability, meaning that for example, one transaction can interact with several smart contract and create some value. For example, in the case of Flash Loan. But if, let's say, your non-DeFi or your application is not dealing with very large values, for example, in GameFi, then it is actually very bad news, because because of other applications driving up the price, then you have to pay a higher price. And when the price gets too high, you get to a point where your entire application become unusable through no fault of your own. Or if we can say in a milder term, let's say that I'm a very successful DApp. For example, I'm Axie Infinity, for example, and I gain a lot of users and there's a lot of transactions. But the more users and the more transaction that I generate, I'm driving up the gas price of the network, for myself, but for also everybody else. And what that means is that as you grow, the friction gets higher. This means that this is an anti-network effect, which is the exact opposite of the philosophy of how a Web2 business will grow. And this is also very important to Web3. We want applications to be able to scale, and as we scale and as we get more and more users, we want the application to be easier to use. Just like Facebook with 10 users versus Facebook with, let's say, 1 billion users, for example. Yeah, so this is very important. There's another and this is a very, very important concept. So when you can see the trend where when DApps become popular, one of the things they will think of is, I must have my own chain. So for example, Engine has 2 chains of their own. I believe one of the chain is zero fee. So that is for a particular purpose. And there's another chain with some other capability. So they actually needed to have 2 chains, and they actually had to build the bridge themselves, which is exactly what happened to Axie, where they decided to build their own blockchain, and they decided to build a bridge, to connect them to Ethereum. But the bridge was hacked because they're not an infrastructure team, right? And it's I would say it will not be totally their fault, because it's just not their focus, not because of anything else. So that's why we talk about application chain. So what we're saying is that instead of starting with the path of Axie Infinity, maybe the other path, the more logical path, the path where we've already learned the lesson, is where we start looking at application chain first and foremost. Okay, And let's say we go through this scenario for a second. Now, obviously, there's certain things that you will not have. Number one, you will not have the liquidity for your token. So you still need a marketplace where there's enough liquidity, there's enough traders, there's enough interest where your tokens are traded to give it some value. So let's say we start with an application chain. The minimum you need is one bridge to a layer one that has this fulfill this criteria. But in the future, this will no longer be a criteria, because remember, we're coming out with the IBC, and there will be a standard, and it'll be super easy for application chain to connect to any other chain. So now you become not only your own chain, where there are many advantages, right? For example, if you want to implement a new standard, let's say if you have an idea for a smart NFT standard, which of course is not available on Ethereum, even though there's some other parties experimenting. I believe there's a RMRK, fantastic project on the polkadot ecosystem that's experimenting with these new NFTs. Now you don't have to wait for people's permission. You can decide with your own governance that, hey, I would like to implement this new smart NFT standard before anyone else, you see. So you're not only able to do things, but you're also able to, for example, push some of the computation to a lower level. And what happens then is simply like this. So when you have a typical blockchain design, okay, and you have a virtual machine, which lies on top, and most of the DApps run inside the virtual machine, right? So you pay for every transaction, and that's like the model that everyone is going for. But when you have your own blockchain actually has a capability to incorporate some computation. And this computation is actually, on an average, is about 10 times more efficient. So you can imagine now, instead of building everything on the virtual machine, you can actually push it to the runtime. And this is where Substrate become absolutely amazing, absolutely interesting, because now you're gaining more performance than you will have, versus, if you deploy on other chain. So I would like to say that the connection to Ethereum is still possible through IBC. And this is how multi-chain looks like at the moment. And definitely there's even one more step beyond that. So as the blockchain grows, let's say your blockchain becomes very popular, or for some reason you decide that you've grown big enough to be able to stand on your own feet, and you say, like, I want to be like a competitive layer one, but I cannot use this consensus that the Octopus is using, for example, because it's limiting my growth. So you can decide by consensus to split from Octopus Network. You can change out your consensus to something maybe super fast, like a Ferrari, like 100,000 TPS, or maybe just a POA with 100,000 TPS, but there's no one to stop you, so you can really scale. And not only that, you're a layer one now, so you can be Ethereum, you can have your layer twos, you can have many other ways to connect, and the options are totally unlimited, right? And it is especially interesting, not only because of all these advantages that we talk about. It is especially interesting because when you think about corporate companies, right? It's like who's going to make the difference in Web3, 5 years from now, right? Is it going to be the startup that gains like, 1 billion users, or is it going to be a company that already has 1 million users that they want to move, some parts into Web3, So I would say that this is both are possible. And for those companies that are considering to, let's say, turn their business model or part of their business model into Web3, they have a very strong justification for their own blockchain. Why is that? Because then they can justify that I do not need to pay a transaction fee to any other company for this service. I can pay this transaction fee to myself, or I can make this a zero transaction fee network. And all the security will be taken care of me by my technology team, and I will be able to control every parameter within this. So this is what I believe will happen in the next wave, because in this wave we've already seen the institutional investors come in. So obviously, there are some very, very serious companies and individuals, billionaires who already understand this technology, perhaps maybe not to the extent of an expert, but certainly they have the benefit and they have the access, because they have the money to pay for expert opinion. So I believe that eventually a lot of companies will come in, especially in these very difficult times where the economy is very challenging and everything is uncertain. I think a lot of people look for new business. So this is where we probably see the major adoption of blockchain. But again, it seems that the road points to this direction. Now, as for Ethereum, I'm very excited about Ethereum 2.0, by the way, because I think Ethereum has already established itself as basically the main DeFi hub, and I don't think that's going to change anytime in the future, because it takes time to build confidence, and once you're in that position, like, I don't think it's going to go away. So I'm very excited about Ethereum's future, what they have in store for ETH 2.0, what they have planned for decentralized staking, for example, with interesting project called SSV. So I think that's worth following as well. But I really don't believe that certainly all the applications should be built on Ethereum. That's why you have Ethereum layer 2s. And even to choose to build on Ethereum layer 2s, it's like, not a total solution, because you're like jumping from one layer 1 to another layer 1, to another blockchain. And if this blockchain becomes popular, you end up with exactly the same problem. So in certain cases, I would say that having your own blockchain is the smart thing to do. Yes, it's a little bit challenging now because the connectivity is not readily available yet, but it probably will be there in the next 6 months or 1 year at the most. So this is all the arguments put on the table, and I believe there's no correct answer, but there's the only correct answer is decided by the application builder. Yeah, and most often they're not. These are not only the developers, but the entrepreneurs as well. Because blockchain has to make sense, not only from technology perspective, but end of the day, this is the new world, is the new business. So it has to make sense from like the business perspective as well.
How do you see the future of Octopus in several years, in 3, 5, or 10, let's say?
Yeah, I see that Octopus would be a very convenient way to launch a blockchain. I hope this will become common knowledge. You can do that practically in 2 days or a testnet. Now you need a lot of time, of course, to build an application, because it's not only about the smart contract, but you need to have the front end, you need to link it, do your databases and stuff. So I hope that Octopus Network will be the go-to network to spin up a chain. And why is that? It's because it is a very good starting point. It is, for example, our staking system is very simple. If you understand something about polkadot staking system, you'll see that it's actually quite complex. They have a basket and so on and so forth. It's very complex. We make it super simple. So I hope we're the go-to place for new enterprises to come and talk to us. And these new enterprises can come from the crypto world, or they can come from a regulated environment, meaning that as more and more countries regulate crypto, we will see so-called more security token offering. But majority of them would probably need their own application. So we hope to be able to serve these companies in a totally regulatory compliant way. By the way, we have just established Octopus Network in Dubai, and we have the license for DLT, which is a digital ledger technology. What that license means is it means that we're an infrastructure provider for blockchain, and we're not a financial company. Yeah, so we have this license available. I hope with this, and we're also thinking about doing a Sharia compliant audit. because some parts of the Muslim world, they're more comfortable if this thing has been vetted and validated. So with that, we hope to serve actually regulated entities that are issuing the tokens in totally legit ways. And I believe this regulation, with, of course, has already been fast-tracked. It's very obvious. So it will be in place. And more we will see regulated coins. And I want to assure everyone that we're a totally safe, totally legal, totally compliant platform for them to do their business and build their application. As a starting point, of course, the main goal is that they should have the sovereignty and they should have the room to grow. They should be able to choose, wherever they want to go. We even have a very interesting concept of forking. So hear me out. As you know, forking in the Bitcoin world tends to be for two reasons, right? So one is you want to upgrade your software. So you have a soft fork, hard fork, and you generally encourage someone to download a software update, right? Then you have a contentious fork where there's two sections of the community when it comes to Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and they don't agree, and they decided to have a fork of Bitcoin, right? And yeah, this group is called Bitcoin Cash, right? And so on and so forth. So you have contentious forks. Now we actually think that this is a feature, quite strangely. Now this feature is not available in Substrate, but for our network, if let's say that we have a condition where one of the application chain, let's say, have a very serious situation where the community is totally divided, and one section say we should go this way, the other section say we should go the other way. So within Octopus Network, we can actually help the community if the community wants to make a fork of their coin, of their chain, the entire chain. Yeah. So that's one of the features that we have. But so far, all projects are very new, and we have not seen this kind of a situation. But this is how far we're thinking about, like governance, and the tools available for governance. Yeah, and definitely when I have more details that I can share publicly about our governance proposal, I would definitely love to share it, because we want to base our concept on the concept of liquid democracy. And I hope you will like this concept when you hear it in the future.